Hi guys. Yeah, I'm going to be talking today about some addresses and quality of data and checkout. Bit of a technical hitch, so I've got my backup slides here today on somebody else's laptop. So if it looks like I'm flying by the seat of my pants, I actually am. Right. So without further ado, I'm going to try to sort of make it quick and hopefully get a bit of a discussion going afterwards. So if you have any questions, anything that sort of strikes your fancy or concerns you, keep your questions until the end. I'll probably be about 10 minutes, and then we can do that afterwards. Right. So, address data quality. Why does it matter? Well, essentially, if we sell stuff online, we need to get it to customers. So we need to address data. If the data is rubbish, it causes problems with delivery, right? So essentially, shipping is the big issue with addresses. It can cost money if the address of data is bad. The second thing is customer satisfaction. It's less tangible, but probably even more important, right? If you get stuff to customers first time, you delight them. You build loyalty, right? So quite kind of obvious stuff. And one thing to keep in mind also that customers can make mistakes on their forms. They're in a hurry. They might switch some digits in their address or whatever. But merchant takes the pain usually. You know, it's your problem to sort it out afterwards. Phone calls, customer support, etc. Right. Checkout pages. So essentially, this is the end of the checkout funnel. You spend all the marketing money getting people to your website. You spend all the money on making the website work really well to get people to put stuff in their shopping baskets. It's the last bit of the checkout where you put in all your data. You don't want to mess it up. So we want to be careful if we try to improve things there. If we want to optimize anything, we need to take care. So that's kind of one thing to keep in mind as we go on. And essentially, long forms are bad, right? So if especially on mobile devices, a long address form can look daunting to a shopper. So there's sort of a bit of a, maybe not conflict, but a bit of balance to strike there. We want to make the checkout as easy and as sort of convenient as possible, but we still want to end up with good data at the end of it, right? So, right. So, can we have the cake and eat it? In UK, definitely can. Royal Mail, by accident, but a very lucky accident for us, created a lovely database where every postcode is linked to a very small number of addresses, which makes it really a perfect data set for driving sort of automation on a checkout. International, less clear-cut. There is a lot of debate going on about that. There's people sort of experimenting with different ways to present the user interface, to make it slick and usable. But the current state is really, it's not a definite kind of answer. What can you do internationally in terms of improving the customer experience in terms of speeding up address entry? The data is not as good as in the UK. So that alone means that, well, without very good data, it's very good to build that good UI. So there's limitations to what can be done. Right. So let's have a quickly look at the UK and what can we do there. I think pretty much everybody who shopped in the UK will be familiar with this sort of user interface, right? Punch in a postcode, click a button, select from a drop-down list. As simple as it gets. The beauty of this user interface is that it is immediately recognizable, right? When a shopper sees this box plus a find address button next to it, no explanation is needed. You know, as soon as that picture hits their eye, they are typing their postcode and clicking the address. In UK, people universally know their postcode. It's a rare occurrence where somebody will not know their postcode. So this is pretty much our answer for the UK. So essentially, with the postcode lookup, the picture I've just showed you, in terms of the user interface, it's a maximum of 7 characters typed, maximum of 2 clicks, done. It's a familiar, clear UI. It's really hard to improve on that. What you see happening out in the market as well, there's this kind of Google-style search as you type coming to address entry. which is lovely developer eye candy, Developers love it. You look at it, it looks very snazzy. From a user's point of view, I think it's still not very clear as to whether or not it delivers good value. I mean, essentially, for majority of the addresses, it will involve more typing from a customer, right? So that's the first one. If somebody lives in High Street, they will have typed 10, 12, 13 characters before they get to a usable drop-down. Also, it needs a bit of explaining. It can be a bit of a surprise, right? With the postcode and address, as postcode and find address button, it's immediately clear to people what that does. With a type as you search, you're presented with a single search box. It can take a little while just to understand what's expected there. If you just start typing into it, some suggestions come out. You know, it can be a little bit of a distraction. So, essentially, I think from what we hear back from our partners, from people we work with, the postcode lookup is still the winner in the UK in terms of the user interface. If you do anything new, I would say test. You know, for some audiences, you know, fancy, sort of techie, clever thing might be nice. It might be the thing to do for you. But by and large, I think postcode lookup is your winner. And essentially, you're killing two. In the UK, what I forgot to mention is that you're killing two birds with one stone. You're getting the user interface, and you're getting the quality of the data. Because the data that, if people use that user interface, automatically the data going into the database is cleaned from the word go. So there's no need to do anything else. Right, for the rest of the world. What we do there, we really try to break it down into two distinct operations. So there's the address autocomplete, where we try to put something on the user interface to help people enter their addresses. What we also can do is address validation. Essentially, what we do then is once the user's typed in their address, we then run it past some sort of API and try to fix it up or at least flag up any issues. So address autocomplete. Like I said, there is tools out there to do address autocomplete for international markets. We've got a plugin on Magento Marketplace which can do that. However, the feedback we get from customers is there's some countries where it works really well, and it's lovely. Some countries where it works less well. So it's once again, it's one of those things where you need to test. You need to make sure that your audience is ready for this. It's not as clear-cut a business case as postcode lookup in the UK. Second thing you can do is address validation, and I think that is a far safer bet. If you're looking at doing something with addresses internationally, address validation is probably the no-brainer there. Because even if the address data, the underlying data is not great, worst case scenario is that you let some bad addresses slip through, right? At least you're not putting potential roadblocks and obstacles into the user's checkout flow. You allow the user to type an address as they would normally be accustomed to. You run it past some sort of a validation routine, and then only if you think that there's an issue with the address, you flag it up to the user. At that point, you've got the conversion, you've got the money in the bank, and you're simply flagging up to a customer that there's a potential issue, give them an option to resolve it or at least double check their address. So I think that the kind of key thing to keep in mind when you're looking at international is if you're looking to do anything on the user interface, on the checkout, be wary of killing conversions when trying to sort of fix the data quality. Right. So in summary, I think in the UK, postcode lookup, great. International address validation, I think it definitely is. And there's a couple of options there for address validation. There's Google Geocode API. It does actually a pretty good job of sort of validating addresses. It's free. There's some sort of terms of use that you need to observe. By and large, it can be free. Once again, there's a module that we put on Magento Connect, which is free to download. Drives off Google data. Can grab it, play with it. There's really no risk in that, really. And there's some other paid APIs that you can use for data validation. So we work with a company called Melissa Data in the US. the data is better than Google. You're going to get better results than with Google in terms of catching more bad addresses and giving users better options to fix them. But it does cost a bit of money. And then address autocomplete, I think it's a maybe. For me personally, it's a maybe. When I talk to merchants and other people in the business, it's not something that I would just stick on the checkout just because my UK-based shop has got postcode lookup. So I would definitely be wary of applying the UK mindset and sort of just stamping it over my international-facing presence. Right, so essentially that kind of is from me. It's no big rocket science, but I'm just wondering, there's a lot of merchants out here in the audience. Would be lovely to hear what you guys do, what the pain points are, and what your views are, how you solve them, or what sort of solutions you're looking for at the moment. So over to you. Any questions? Deathly silence. Yes.
So for address validation, would you think it might be a good idea to say, okay, this is a bad address, surely you want someone to give you the money. Sorry, I'm a developer, so yeah. From a business point of view, maybe I'm not the best person, but if you validated the address, would it be a good idea to flag it and then someone can actually get in contact with the customer instead of flagging it to the user and then it stops their journey?
Yeah, possibly. But I mean, with address validation, we put it after checkout. So it actually goes on the page where it says, thank you for your order. This is where we're going to ship it for. This is where we're planning to ship your expensive Rolex to. We think there's an issue with the address. Please check it. And by the way, there's 2 or 3. Like Amazon does that pretty much, right? So they do this. This is the address you gave us, but we think it's bad. Here's 2 or 3 other options. Select from one of those 3, or just freehand re-enter it. But what it also does for the merchant, you can put a flag against that address. So at the point at which you are going to fulfill the order, you can have an error message there. You can kind of see, right, this address might be dodgy. Perhaps I should take an action before putting a label in the box.
Yes, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So Postcode Anywhere, who obviously are a competitor of yours,
yep.
have invested heavily in the Autocomplete
right.
integration. They must have done that for a reason. They must have proven that must convert better than Postcode, I'd assume. Have you done any research similar to that?
Yes. So we talk to a lot of people in the business, obviously. I mean, I don't want to kind of go into playing competitors of because I mean that's not the point of this.
Have you looked at Autocomplete versus just entering?
Right. So I'm going to talk in general about the sort of Autocomplete rather than mentioning product by name. But I think part of the reason that those other companies, there's others apart from Postcode Anywhere, there's others, not just them. The reason those sort of tools are coming in is because people are looking for differentiation. Our market is very kind of fixed.
Yeah.
It's boring in many senses because it's Royal Mail terms. We all resell exactly the same data. So I think people are looking for differentiation.
Okay.
Right. I think the big, to me, the big flag that comes up in terms of why it's not great is because I tried it personally. Right. So it takes me longer to put my address in with Autocomplete than with postcode lookup. As far as I'm a shopper, I don't have time. When I shop, I want to be in and out as quickly as possible. I don't care for fancy stuff. I want to be usable, clear. So from that point of view, to me personally, postcode lookup is great, right? And the second thing that kind of drives it, if you look at all the big shops, the people who have the budgets for doing A/B testing, for really investing in it, you'll see postcode lookup. Go on all the big retailers out there. That's what you'll see. Those are people with the money to know what to do. So I think personally, and from talking to other people, postcode lookup is your winner in the UK. Yeah.
I totally agree with you. The UK lookup, postcode lookup works very well, but what I find quite frustrating on some sites that only have the postcode lookup is because I use Chrome now and I use the autocomplete form fields.
Yeah.
So I get quite frustrated because I love it. Just I start entering my name, I click autocomplete, fills my name, my email address, my phone number, my address, the postcode, and everything like that. So do you see that this almost restricts the customer that wants to do it in a certain way?
Yeah. So I think that the UI is something that you really want to be paying attention. So I mean, we always recommend to our customers, don't ever rely on a postcode lookup 100%. Right. So you always want to. I mean, some people like to just show postcode lookup and hide the rest of the address form, but we always say show that address form at any hint of any trouble. You know, so as soon as the customer touches anything else, provide a link where it says I want to put my address in by hand, or if there's an error, if they click a button with an empty postcode, show that it forms straight away. So basically, you want to give a customer options right away. So yeah, absolutely. Chrome autocomplete.
I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's so yeah, you need to pay attention to that. Yeah. I don't know if there's a way of detecting from a website, from a server, whether somebody's got that on or not, but it would be lovely if you could.
Always a workaround.
Yeah. So there was another question in the back somewhere.
Isn't there a best of both worlds with the search autocomplete? So you put it on the postcode field, like there already, and then it saves you one of the clicks.
Yes, absolutely. So that's something that we're going to be doing very soon. So essentially, the idea there is twofold. Number one, you're saving one click potentially, and number two, you filtering out bad input right away. So if somebody makes an error on the third character of the postcode, you catch it right there and there, rather than waiting until they type in 7 and click the button. Yes, absolutely. That's your winner probably. Yes.
What is the most effective method for testing in terms of gathering data and understanding what users are doing on checkout?
There's so many tools for that. If you can afford it, proper A/B testing, I think, is the way to go. You know, try different layouts or different approaches and test with real users if you can. I think.
Have you used any of the technology to see what people are putting in the fields and what they're typing in? Have you used that?
Yeah, so we do analysis on kind of number of errors that happen. So I mean, our front end filters out the most obvious errors. If people type in postcodes that are completely misformatted, so that don't fit any of the Royal Mail guidelines. But in terms of postcodes that look right, which there's about 2% or less, just under 2% error rate on postcodes where people type in the wrong postcode. Typically, it's switching 2 digits around or 2 letters around in a postcode. So it's not huge. Like I said, I mean that also tells us that in the UK, people actually know their postcodes pretty well. You know, it's because it's so much part of your life. You know, if you've lived in the UK for a number of weeks, you will have your postcode burned into your back of your head, basically, because everybody will be asking for that. Yes?
Generally, when I make a purchase online, I get it shipped to the place where I've made the purchase. Not always, but maybe 90% of the time.
Yeah.
Do you think is there already, or do you think there will be in the future, an example of some sort of geolocation type form entry where you simply click ship to where I am now and it ends up where you were when you purchased it?
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Yeah, that's possible. I mean, quite easily possible with the data we've got in the UK right now. The geolocation data is already open sourced. So yeah, that's quite possible. I mean, the one interesting point you made is sort of if you're shipping to somebody else's addresses. So, for example, use case might be a gift shop or flower delivery, right, where you're shopping not for yourself. In those cases, it might be more likely that you won't know the postcode, right? So I think in those cases, the autocomplete is a great solution. In those cases, absolutely. And I think what we recommend to our customers is then having some sort of a little label under the postcode field or something like that saying, I don't know my postcode. You click that and the user interface switches to something else then. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, guys. If anything else pops up, feel free to grab me. I'll be drinking beer in the back.